G'day guys, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'll be breaking down all the lead guitar parts in Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. I'll show you each section note for note, but more importantly, I'll be showing you how to understand the lead guitar parts from a more holistic and theoretic point of view. This should enable you to noodle and improvise your own lead guitar over the song without having to memorize the studio parts, which have countless variations. If you're after an easy way of playing this song with simple chords and strumming, I also have a beginner lesson for that, which you can find in the video description below. And if you're a beginner looking to improve your guitar in general, then be sure to check out Guitar Zero to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course. Now in terms of guitar tone, I'm just using my neck pickup here and I'm playing through a clean amp channel with some spring reverb. So quite simple. Let's get stuck into it. Okay, so let's start with the intro, which is a whole lot of fun to play and is one of the biggest hooks in this song. So I'm going to start by playing some double stops here, so two notes at the same time. We've got our G note here, 8th fret of the 2nd string, and the 3rd above it, which is the 7th fret of the 1st string. So we're going to hit those two. Then we're going to move up, so index finger goes up to the 8th fret. You can move your middle finger up to that 10th fret of the 2nd string, but I personally like changing fingers and using my ring finger here for this particular shape. And we're going to hit those two notes together. So the first two plucks. Then we're going to take this position up 2 frets. Then for the final chunk of this bar, we go back down 2 frets and then end in this starting position. And all together for this first bar. Then for the second bar, we're doing the exact same thing, but we're starting on the C note here of the 2nd string. And we're playing the exact same shapes and same rhythm. For the third bar, we're playing the exact same thing as the first bar. Then for this final bar, you're gonna put your index finger across the 7th fret of the 3rd and 2nd string, and pinky finger will go on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. We'll start by hitting those two strings together. And then you'll lift your pinky finger, hit the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and then end with two notes, 8th fret and 10th fret of the 2nd string. So the final bar. And that line of tab is just repeated through twice. So the intro. Now you can absolutely use the same two fingers to play all these shapes up and down, but I personally find it easier using my ring finger for these 2 fret distances. Okay, so before I show you the note for note lead guitar licks in the verses, I just want to first explain how the original guitarist is actually approaching the lead guitar on this track. Now the lead guitarist on this track was Al Gorgoni, who was a phenomenal session guitarist throughout the 60s and 70s. He noted in an interview, "On this occasion, our task was more improvisational, more about listening to what was happening, about finding something that was musically appropriate for the situation." And that's why it sounds like there's so much going on with the lead. It's because he's basically improvising the whole way through instead of playing a pre-written part that might loop again and again. So let me break down the approach. I feel there's some real gold nuggets here in this upcoming explanation. And as the saying goes, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he eats for life. So after this explanation, hopefully you'll be able to improvise your own lead for this song without having to memorize all the licks in the actual recording. Alternatively, you can just skip this portion of the video and go straight to where I explain the note for note licks. So what Al Gorgoni was doing was essentially improvising over the chords using triads and partial chord shapes, peppering in some melodies over the top. So step 1, we need to know our triad shapes. So let's take a look at the 3 major triad shapes on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. Okay, so let's use the G chord for these triad examples. First off, we have root position, which looks like this. And this is just the top 3 strings of a 5th string major bar chord, otherwise known as the open A caged shape, which you can then shift up the neck. So we're just taking those top 3 strings, and that is our root position. Root position because our root note is the lowest note here. This is a G note, so this is a G triad. Our next triad is the 1st inversion, and it looks like this. And that's just the top 3 strings of our 6th string major bar chord shape, otherwise known as the E caged chord shape, which we can then just shift up and down the neck. So we're just taking those top 3 strings, and our root note is on this first string. That's a G, so this shape is a G triad. And the last triad shape that we have for these 3 strings is the second inversion, which looks like this. This might look familiar because it's just the same shape as an open D chord like this. With the open D, this second string was a D note, so that's a D major. If we just take that note up to where it's a G note, that's our G major triad second inversion. Another way of thinking about this is that it's the top 3 strings of a C shape as well, where our 5th string root note is a G. You can think of these as just fragments of the chord shapes that you already know. So 5th string major bar chord, just taking that fragment. The 6th string major bar chord, we're just taking that fragment. And with our caged C chord shape, we're taking that top 3 strings. Or another way of looking at it is just that D shape, moving that up. As you can see, all are G chord triads and have the same 3 notes. It's just the order of the notes which vary. And these shapes are movable too. So if we wanted a C triad for our root position, we would just locate the C note on the 5th string, and that would be our C triad in root position. Now, for the purpose of this explanation, I'm just gonna stick to these triads using the top 3 strings, but in the actual song, you'll hear him use the 4th string as well, extending the triad to a more partial fragment of the full chord shape. So for example, for this second inversion, you'll often see him use that 4th string, which is that extra note from the G major bar chord. Now we have our building blocks we can use to improvise. We now need to know what the blueprint of the song is, aka what is the chord progression, and that's going to guide us. So here's the chord progression in its basic form for the first verse. Now all we need to do is noodle with our triad over the respective chord that's being played. So let's start with a simple example here where we'll use the same shape for all the chords. We'll just use our first inversion shape like this. And we'll arpeggiate the chord with a down, down, up, up. So 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd. And we'll play that for G, C, G, and then D. All you need to do is locate the root note with that 1st string there. So that's using the same chord shape for each chord, but we can absolutely mix things up, and this is where it starts to get fun. So let's take a look at that. So that's really the main approach at the end of the day. And you can add extra notes around these triads to create fills and melody lines, providing you stick within the key of the G major scale. The only other thing to note is that when we get to the E minor chord, our triad shapes change to these shapes here. So we have root position, E minor, we have first inversion, and then second inversion. In this song though, he tends to just stick with using the open E minor chord and arpeggiating those notes when it gets to the E minor chord. Alright, so now you know what the general approach is for the lead guitar of this song. Let's now take a look at the note for note licks played in the original recording, which are a lot of fun and will give you some great ideas to use in your own playing. Let's jump into the first verse. Now, above the tab, you'll see the chord that's being played for each respective bar, and this will help guide you in understanding what chord position you should sort of be in. So we're going to start with the G triad like this, and we're going to pluck the second string, first string, and then third string. So really simple for that bar. And then we're going to go to a C chord, but we're going to actually have our pinky finger here on the 3rd fret of the first string. And we're gonna pluck the second string, first string, then lift your pinky finger, open first string, and then end with the fourth string. So then we go back to our G triad like this, but we're gonna add our ring finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. We're gonna pluck 4 quick notes here, so 4th, 1st, 3rd, 2nd, and then end with 1st and 3rd. So the 3rd bar. And then we're going to play a really cool lick here, which is a common sort of theme throughout this song, and it's the use of 6th intervals. So what we're gonna do is we're basically outlining a 1st inversion D triad here, but you'll basically need to just slide your middle finger up to the 11th fret, and then with your index finger go on the 10th fret of the 1st string. Now what hybrid picking is where you use your guitar pick and you also use your fingers at the same time. So I'm gonna pluck the 3rd string, and I'm gonna use my ring finger here to pluck the 1st string. You can also use your middle finger too if you want. Then we're going to shift this shape down 2 frets, and we're going to pluck both those strings at the same time. So 3rd and 1st. So this is where hybrid picking comes really in handy, because we can use our pick and we can use our finger at the same time. Then we'll shift our middle finger to the 7th fret. Ring finger comes to the 7th fret of the 1st string. We'll pinch those 2 strings and then end on the 5th fret. And what you'll notice here is we start on a D fragment here, and we actually end on a D fragment here. So this is the 2 notes that are contained within a D7 chord like that. So it's really clever. And the first line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the second line tab, we go back to this G position with our ring finger. We're going to start by hybrid picking the 3rd and 1st strings, holding that out, and then 4th string, 2nd string, 1st and 3rd. So then we go to our C chord. We're going to start with the open 1st string, then the 4th string, and then pinky finger comes onto the 3rd fret of the 1st string, pluck that. Hold that out for a little bit, lift your pinky finger, and then end with the open 1st and open 3rd. So the C bar here. Then we go back to our G shape, 2nd string, and then 4th, 3rd, and then 2nd, 4th. So. And then for this 4th bar, we play a D7 chord shape, really simple. We're gonna pluck 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and open 1st string, and then put our finger back down and then pluck 1st and 3rd. So, and the line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the 3rd line of tab, we're going to start with our G triad like this. We're going to be hybrid picking though. And then with our ring and pinky finger go on the 5th fret of the 1st and 3rd string. Hybrid pick that, and then we'll pluck it again, but slide up to the 7th. So 3 plucks there. And then we'll go back down to the 5th, and then end on our G triad shape. And this is a really common lick that you'll find, and you can actually play a lot around your root chords. So if you have a song that's in the key of G major, you can actually noodle this lick. For the second bar, we take this triad, we go up to our C position, start with the hybrid pick, and then the 2nd string, and then end with 1st and 3rd. So 3rd bar is the same as the 1st bar. Then we go to a D chord. We're going to start with a hybrid pinch, and then 2nd string, 1st, 2nd. So, and the 3rd line of tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a lot of hybrid picking going on in this lesson so far. For the 4th line tab, we go back to this G position with our 4th string. We're gonna hybrid pick here the 4th and second string together. I use my middle finger here whenever I need to hybrid pick the second string. So we'll start with that, and then third, first string, and then end with second and third. And that's going to be a rhythm that you'll hear quite a lot in this lesson. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we're going to go to a C. We're going to start with second string, fourth, and then first, and then second and third. So the C bar. And again, we're using that same rhythm. Down, down, up, down. For the third bar, we're just going to slide into our G triad, and then second string, third string, and then end with the second string. So, and then for the fourth bar, it's a D7. Now this D7 chord shape's a really interesting one. So think about the C7 chord shape. We're basically moving that up to where the root note is a D, but we're taking the fourth, third, and second strings, but rearrange your fingers so that we can take our pinky finger and actually hit that 5th fret of the first string as well. And this is a really nice 7 chord fragment where your root note is there on the second string. So we're going to pluck first, second, third, and fourth, and then second and third. So, and the line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we get to the 5th line of chords, and this is where the chord progression changes. It's no longer G, C, G, D. We now start with a C chord. So we're going to have our C chord here, pluck the second string, then the fourth, and open first, and then end on the second. So then we go to our D chord. We're going to pluck this first string, and then third and first. And then for the G chord, we start with this G note here, and we're going to play more of a melody line rather than outlining a chord shape. So 3rd fret, up to 5th, back down to 3rd, 2nd, and open 1st string. So, and that takes us into our 4th bar where we're just playing an E minor chord shape, and you're going to hit the open 2nd string, open 3rd, and then 2nd and 3rd. So that's the 4th line of tab, which sounds like this in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, the 6th line of tab, we start on our C again. We're going to start with the 2nd string and then use our pinky finger to go to the 3rd fret, and then open 1st string, and then finally pinky finger on 3rd fret of the 1st string. And then we go to our D chord shape, 1st string, and then 3rd, open 1st string, put our middle finger back down, 1st and 3rd. So then back to our G triad here, we're going to pluck the 1st string, 3rd, 2nd, and then 1st and 3rd. So, and for the final bar, we're going to do some more of those 6th. So it's just the 11th fret of the 3rd string and 10th fret of the 1st string with our index and middle finger. We'll slide up to that, hybrid pick, do it one more time, then slide down 2 frets, hybrid pick that, and then down to that 7th fret, and then down to that 5th fret. Again, we're starting at a D fragment here and ending on a D fragment here, so it's really quite a clever lick. And the 6th line of tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the first verse, which will sound like this in total. Now we move on to verse number 2, which has the same chord progression as verse 1 with 2 extra bars of D7. So we have 7 lines of tab here, but the principles are the same. We're mostly just playing triads and partial chord fragments and arpeggiating them and adding little licks here and there over that basic chord progression. So first line of tab, we're going to start with our basic G triad, first string, third, first, first, third. So then to our C chord shape, second, fourth, second, third, fourth. And again, those 2 bars have that sort of rhythm to them. Then we go back to our G triad. We're going to start with the third string first, and then 5th fret of the first string back down to third. Now the timing here is a little different because the first 2 notes are held for a full beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and like that. And then we go back up to the 5th fret of the first string for the final note. So this third bar. And then what we're going to do is going to keep our index finger where it is, put your ring finger on the 5th fret of the third string. And we're going to pluck the third string, second, and then we're going to do a hybrid pick of the first and third strings and slide that up to 7th. So, and then back down to that 5th position and back down to our G triad and hybrid pick that as well. So the final bar and the first line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the second line of tab, we start with this G shape with the 4th string. We're going to hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd, then 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And then we're going to go up to the C triad like this, do the hybrid pick there, and then we're going to go to the 10th fret with our ring and pinky of the same strings, do a hybrid pick and slide up to 12th. Back down to 10th, and then end on our C triad. The third bar, we go back to this G triad, we hybrid pick the 1st and 3rd, then 2nd string, 1st, 3rd. Then for our 4th bar, we're going to slide all the way up here, index finger bars across the 10th fret and middle finger on the 11th fret of the 3rd string. So this is a D7 shape. It's just a partial fragment of a full 6th string 7 chord shape. We're just using the top 4 strings. We're going to pluck the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 1st, and then 12th fret of the 1st string, 10th fret of the 1st string. So the full bar. Really nice lick there. So the second line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third line of tab here, and we're going to start with this G shape. So it's a fragment from the C caged chord shape, using G as our root note, and we're just using the top 4 strings here. So we're going to hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd string, and then pluck the 3rd and 1st, and then end with the 10th fret of the 1st string. So then go to our C triad, pluck the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then ring and pinky finger on the 10th frets, hybrid pick them, hold it out, and then pluck them again and slide up to 12th. So this bar. Then we're going to go to this G triad here. So that's the D shape just up with the G note. Rest on the first beat. On the second beat, we'll hit the 1st and 2nd strings, and then we'll hit the 3rd and 2nd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we'll go down to this D7 shape that we had in the earlier verse. We're going to start with the 4th string, 2nd, and then 1st, 3rd. So that bar. And this third line of tab in total. For the 4th line of tab, we start with this G shape. We're going to hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd string, then go to a C chord, second string, then third, first, second, third string. For the third bar, just this G triad by itself, third string, first string, and second string. For the fourth bar, we'll start with our ring and pinky finger on the 5th frets of the 3rd and 1st. Do 2 hybrid picks here, then 1 more, then down to 4th and 3rd frets of these same strings, and then we go down to 2nd fret with our middle and ring. So this bar. So that's all hybrid picked. And the 4th line and tab. Fifth line and tab, we're going to start with a C chord. Again, the chord progression changes here. We're going to go 1st string, 4th, 2nd, and then 3rd, 4th. Then a D7 chord, regular D7, 1st string, 3rd, open 1st, and ring finger back down, 1st, 3rd. Then we go to our G triad, hybrid pick the 1st and 3rd. Then up to the 5th fret with our ring and pinky, back to the G triad, pinch that triad 1 more time, and down to 2nd frets with your middle and ring. So, and then we end with an E minor bar, so just go to E minor shape, and we're going to hybrid pick the 3rd and 1st strings, and pluck 2nd, 1st, and 3rd. So the final bar. And this 5th liner tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then for the 6th liner tab, we're going to go back to our C, pluck the 2nd string, 3rd fret with your pinky, and then open 1st string, and then with your pinky finger, go to the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So. Then we go to a D7, 2nd fret of the 1st string, then 3rd string, open 1st string, and back down with your ring finger for the 1st and 3rd string. So, for the 3rd bar, we go to our G triad, do a hybrid pick there, and then up to the 5th frets with your ring and pinky, hybrid pick there, pluck it again and slide up to 7th. So, and then for the final bar, we'll go back down to this 5th fret position, hybrid pick there, pluck it again, and then down to the 3rd frets of the 1st and 3rd, but use your index and middle finger here, pluck it, and then slide down to 2nd fret. So the final bar. And that's 6 liner tab in total. And finally, for the 7th line tab, we play a D7 chord shape like this. So it's same as a C7 chord, just shift it up 2 frets. And we're going to palm mute this with down, 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 or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're going to do that for 2 bars. And that's it for the second verse, which will sound like this. Next we get to the chorus, which is really simple because we're just strumming some chords here. So we're going to start with the G chord, and I'm just going to use my ring, pinky, middle, and index finger here on the middle 4 string. So it's just the middle part of a G major bar chord. We're going to strum a down, up, mute, up, mute. So the muted strum is just me using the side of my palm to touch the strings as I come down with the down strum. But don't drag your hand in like this. You'll just pivot and then rotate your wrist to get that muted strum. So down, up, mute, up, mute. And we're going to play a C bar chord like this. Or you could play a regular C chord if you wanted to, but it's just easier to transition and stay in this position. Back to a G chord for the 3rd bar, and then a D7 chord for the 4th bar. And that's repeated through twice. So the chorus. And that's just repeated through twice. Next is the break, which is just 1 line of tab. So we're going to start in this G triad position. We're going to hit the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and then ring and pinky on the 5th frets of the 3rd and 1st, and we're going to do the hybrid pick, slide up to 7th, back down to 5th, back down to our G triad with another pick. So then for the 2nd bar, we're going to play the G shape with the 4th string, hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd strings, and then pluck the 5th fret of the 2nd string. I'll do that with my middle finger. Then lift your pinky finger, do another hybrid pick. Then 2nd string, pinky finger comes onto the 5th fret of the 3rd, and then lift your pinky finger and end by plucking the 4th and 3rd strings of this G shape. So the 2nd and 3rd bar. And this break in total. And after that, there's the bass break, so no guitar there. And now we jump into the 3rd and final verse, which has, again, 7 lines of tab. We'll start with our G chord shape like this, and we'll start with 4th string, 2nd, and then 3rd, 4th. Then we'll go to our C chord, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then end with 2nd and 3rd. So the 2nd bar. Then for the 3rd bar, G triad shape, hybrid pick. Then in the 5th fret position, hybrid pick. Pluck it 1 more time and slide up to 7th. Back down to 5th, and then finish on the G triad. Then for the final bar, we go to our D chord. We're gonna hybrid pick here. And then on the 3 and the 4 beat, 2nd string, 1st string. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So first line of tab, 1, 2, 3, 4. Second line of tab, we start with the G position with the 4th string, hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd, 3rd, 1st, and then 2nd, 3rd. For the 2nd bar, we're gonna play this C fragment. So it's a fragment from this 5th string C major bar chord. Just bar your ring finger across the 5th frets of the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. And we're gonna pluck the 2nd string, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd. So. Or you could just use your fingers individually to play that as well. Then for the 3rd bar, G triad, hybrid pick there, 5th position, hybrid pick there, pluck it again and slide up to 7th, back down to 5th, hybrid pick, and then end on the G triad. And then for the final bar, we'll start in the 2nd fret position, so D7 sort of shape, but just the 2nd fret of the 1st and 3rd strings. Then up to our G triad, and then up to this 5th position, back down to the G triad, and end on our D position. And the 2nd line of tab in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the 3rd line of tab, we go up to this position for our G chord. So it's based off this C caged shape with our G as the root note. I'm going to start by hybrid picking the 4th and 2nd string, then 3rd, and then with your pinky go to the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And then first string. Then we're going to shift to the C triad, so 8th fret there, and pluck that first string. So that is on the end beat after the 4. So all together. And then we're going to continue on with this position. We're going to pluck the 2nd string, 3rd string, and then end with 1st and 3rd for the 2nd bar. For the 3rd bar, bar your index finger across the 7th fret for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. Hybrid pick here, the 1st and 3rd, then 8th fret of the 1st string, 10th, back down to 8th, and then end on 7th. So, and then for the 4th bar, we're just going 7th fret of the 2nd string, 8th, 10th, and down to 8th. And the 3rd line of tab and total. For the 4th line of tab, we go back to this G position, hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd strings, and pluck the 3rd, 1st, and then 2nd string. Then we go to this C position, so it's the same as our G position with the 4th string, but we're just doing it up here at the C chord. We'll hybrid pick the 4th and 2nd strings, and then pluck the 3rd string, and with your pinky finger, 10th fret of the 1st string, pluck that, then lift your pinky finger and hit the 8th fret of the 1st string. For the 3rd and 4th bars, we're just going to be playing a whole bunch of 6ths here. So let's start at 7th fret with our middle and ring finger. Hybrid pick that, and then up to this C triad, back down, and then down to this G position, and then end on the 2nd fret position. So. And for the 4th bar, we'll pluck this one more time, up to that G position, then up to the 5th position, and then end on this D position. So the 3rd and 4th bars. And the 4th line of tab and total. We get to the 5th line of tab, and we now have a C chord. We're going to pluck the 2nd string, 4th, open 1st, and then with our pinky finger, 3rd fret, and then shift to our D7 position here and hit the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So, and then we continue on with this shape. We go 3rd string, 1st string, and then 2nd and 3rd. So. Then for the 3rd bar, we go up to a G triad, 1st string, and then a 4-note run, the 3rd string, 5th fret of the 1st, 3rd, 2nd, and then open 1st string, which is where we get to our E minor chord shape. So this 3rd bar. And then we're going to continue with the 2nd string, 3rd string, and then 2nd and 3rd to end it. And this 5th line of tab and total. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the 6th line of tab, we go back to our C chord, 2nd string, and then 3rd fret of the 2nd string with your pinky, open 1st string, and then 3rd fret of the 1st string with your pinky. Then we go to our D7 position, pluck out 2nd fret of the 1st string. So the 1st bar. And then we're going to lift your ring finger, hit the open 1st string, pinky finger, 3rd fret of the 2nd, and down to 1st fret of the 2nd. So, and then we'll shift our index and middle finger up to our G triad and hit the 4th fret of the 3rd string. So the 1st and 2nd bars. Then for this 3rd bar, hit the 1st string, 2nd, 4th, 3rd. And for the 4th bar, keep your index finger where it is and reposition, put your pinky finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to pluck the 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st, and 2nd. So, and then get into our D7 position, and we're going to end this bar with an up strum. which will take us into the final line of tab. So this 6th line of tab. Now with that up strum at the very end, we're going to continue on, and the full strumming pattern is up, mute, right? So up, mute. And we're going to continue that again and again for the final line of tab. So from the very end of the 6th line of tab, up, mute, up, mute, up, mute. And then we end the song with the final chorus, which is just the chords strummed, and we've already learnt that. So the 3rd verse altogether will sound like this. And those are all the lead guitar parts note for note for Brown Eyed Girl. But I encourage you to sort of just understand what's going on from a chordal point of view and to improvise and try to create your own lead lines. So now I'll be doing a full playthrough of the song, and I'll have a vocal track on top for some context. A big thanks to my friend Eric for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Remember, if you're looking for some super simple chords to strum and play this song, then I also have a lesson for that. The link is in the description below. Feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here. Or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.